Solo Sikoa built an empire to prove he did not need Roman Reigns. He had Tama Talla, he had Tanga Loa, he had the MFTs, a faction forged specifically as an alternative to the family that had once defined him, designed to demonstrate that he could lead, that he could command loyalty, that he could be exactly what Roman Reigns is without ever having to acknowledge him as tribal chief. And on Friday Night SmackDown, in the space of a single tag team championship match, all of it came apart. Not through betrayal from outside, not through a bloodline ambush or a calculated act of sabotage from Roman's camp. Through Solo's own decision, his own inability to stay backstage when his faction had explicitly warned him to, his own costly mistake that cost Tama Talla and Tanga Loa the championships they had worked toward. And in the moment that mattered most, the men he had built his entire alternative empire around did exactly what Solo himself had once threatened to do to others. They walked away. They left him standing alone in that ring, humiliated, abandoned, with nothing left of the family he had built to replace the one he refused to rejoin. And when he walked backstage, broken and alone, Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu were already waiting. Roman did not say a word. He simply extended his hand. Wrestling Stands has every devastating detail. Quick favor before we break down every moment of this: if you're enjoying the content here at Wrestling Stands, please smash that like button and hit subscribe. Over 98% of viewers watch without subscribing. It's completely free for you, but it means the absolute world to us and genuinely helps the channel grow. Already subscribed? You absolute legend, thank you so much. Right, let's get properly into it. Let's establish exactly where this story stood heading into Friday SmackDown, because the collapse hits considerably harder when you understand the full arc that led here. Solo Sikoa had spent weeks resisting Roman's invitations, delivered through Jacob Fatu as the messenger, to rejoin the bloodline. We watched the contempt of that rejection on full display, Solo calling the family a doghouse, calling Fatu a lapdog, telling Roman to come and get him personally. We watched the subsequent shift, the quiet "I'm ready" message sent through an intermediary after witnessing the Eula Fala ceremony in Baltimore. We watched Roman and Fatu deliver their own pointed response, terms and conditions rather than easy forgiveness, the price of readmission made clear rather than simply granted. And throughout all of that negotiation, throughout all of that back and forth between pride and pragmatism, Solo had something Roman's terms could not simply erase: his own faction. Tama Talla and Tanga Loa, the MFTs, loyal soldiers who had built something genuine alongside him during the period when Solo ran his own version of authority. That faction was Solo's leverage. It was proof that he had options beyond accepting whatever conditions Roman chose to impose. As long as the MFT stood behind him, Solo was negotiating from a position that included an alternative to capitulation. That alternative just disappeared. Entirely. In the most public, most humiliating way possible. Let's walk through exactly what happened in that tag team championship match, because the details matter enormously for understanding why this collapse lands as the genuine turning point it represents. Tama Talla and Tanga Loa were competing against Damian Priest and R-Truth for the championships, a significant opportunity, the kind of match that could have validated everything the MFTs had built as an independent unit, separate from and arguably superior to anything Solo's previous bloodline structure had achieved. And reportedly, explicitly, Solo's own faction had warned him to stay backstage, to let them handle this match without his involvement. Whether out of genuine strategic concern about distraction risk or simple recognition that Solo's recent preoccupation with his negotiation with Roman had made him an unpredictable variable, the warning was clear and direct. Solo ignored it. He appeared at ringside, and whatever his intentions, support, oversight, simple inability to stay away from a match involving his own faction, the result was catastrophic. His presence created exactly the kind of distraction that experienced competitors like Damian Priest and R-Truth know how to exploit instantly. R-Truth capitalized with a roll-up pinfall, and just like that, the championship opportunity that Tama Talla and Tanga Loa had been building toward evaporated. Not through being out-wrestled, not through a legitimate competitive defeat, through their own leader's inability to follow a simple, explicit instruction to stay out of the way. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Tama Talla and Tanga Loa did not hesitate, did not offer Solo the benefit of the doubt, did not extend a kind of patient loyalty that genuine long-term bonds typically produce even in moments of significant failure. They blamed him, directly, and they abandoned him, right there, in the ring, in front of the SmackDown audience and every camera capturing the moment. Think about the symbolism of that abandonment, because it is almost too perfectly constructed to be coincidental. Solo Sikoa built the MFT specifically as proof that he could command genuine loyalty without needing Roman Reigns' family structure to provide it. He positioned this faction as evidence that his leadership was real, that his authority did not require blood ties or sacred necklaces or ceremonial acknowledgement to be legitimate. And in the moment his leadership actually failed, in the single instance where his judgment cost his faction something they genuinely wanted, that loyalty evaporated instantly. Tama Talla and Tanga Loa proved, in walking away, that their commitment to Solo was conditional on his competence rather than rooted in anything resembling the deeper, more complicated bonds that define actual family. The MFTs are done. Whatever Solo built over these past months, it dissolved the moment it was actually tested by failure. Now let's sit with Solo Sikoa standing alone in that ring, because the image itself carries enormous narrative weight. This is a man who, weeks ago, told the most powerful figure in WWE to come and get him personally, who mocked an invitation to rejoin his own family, who built an entire alternative power structure specifically to prove that he did not need what Roman was offering. And in the space of a single tag team match, every piece of that alternative collapsed, leaving him standing in a wrestling ring with absolutely nothing, no titles, no faction, no leverage, and an audience watching him process the totality of what had just happened. That is one of the most genuinely humbling images this entire Bloodline saga has produced. Not a forced kneel, not an extracted acknowledgement under threat of exclusion. Simple, undeniable, public abandonment by the people he had chosen over his own blood. And then he walked backstage, and found Roman Reigns and Jacob Fletcher waiting. Let's appreciate the precision of that timing, because it tells you everything about how thoroughly Roman Reigns understands the strategic landscape of this entire negotiation. Roman did not need to orchestrate Solo's downfall directly. He did not need to send Fletcher to sabotage the match, did not need to manufacture circumstances that would strip Solo of his alternative faction. He simply needed to wait. Because Roman understood, with the patience that has defined his entire approach to this negotiation, that Solo's own pride and Solo's own faction's conditional loyalty would eventually produce exactly this outcome without any direct intervention required. Roman Reigns let Solo Sikoa's empire destroy itself, and then he was simply there, waiting, in the exact corridor Solo would have to walk through on his way to processing what had just happened. The hand extended in silence is the moment this entire arc has been building toward. And the silence itself is doing enormous narrative work. Roman did not gloat. He did not deliver a speech about everything Solo had thrown away by resisting for so long. He did not remind Solo of the doghouse comment, the lapdog insult, the demand that Roman come and get him personally. He simply extended his hand. Because at this point, with Solo standing there having lost everything he built as an alternative, words would have been unnecessary. The silence communicated the only thing that actually mattered: this is your last option. Take it, or face the total obscurity that comes from having rejected your family and then watched your replacement family abandon you in the same week. Jacob Fletcher's presence in that moment matters too, in exactly the way we discussed when Roman first brought him to deliver terms to Solo. Fletcher standing there, wearing the brown Ulafala, embodying everything Solo lost when his own weapon transferred allegiance to Roman, is the silent reminder of the stakes. Solo is not just choosing whether to rejoin a family. He is choosing whether to accept a position considerably diminished from the one he once held, standing across from the man who replaced him as Roman's most trusted enforcer. What happens next depends entirely on whether Solo's pride can survive what just happened to it. He has no leverage left, no faction, no alternative, no negotiating position beyond the conditions Roman has already indicated he expects. Refusing Roman's hand at this point would not be a demonstration of strength or independence, it would be choosing total obscurity, isolation without even the diminished company of Tama Talla and Tanga Loa, who have already made clear their loyalty does not extend through genuine adversity. Taking the hand means swallowing every word he said about the doghouse and the lapdog. It means walking back into a family structure that includes Jacob Fletcher now occupying the position of trust Solo once held. It means acknowledging, finally and completely, that the empire he tried to build in opposition to Roman Reigns was never going to be sustainable without the very thing he refused to accept: genuine acknowledgement of the tribal chief's authority. Solo Sikoa built an empire to prove he did not need Roman Reigns. Friday Night SmackDown proved, in the most brutal and public way possible, exactly how wrong that belief was. Wrestling Stands will be here for whatever Solo decides, and for everything that follows. Thanks so much for watching. It genuinely means everything to us here at Wrestling Stands. We'll see you in the next one.